Hello and welcome to this demonstration of Orbeon Form Builder. Form Builder is Orbeon's form designer. It allows you to create, edit, manage, and deploy complex forms right from your web browser. It is entirely open source and heavily standards oriented. In particular, it produces forms following the XORM specification. The landing page of Form Builder is called the summary page. It allows you to view and search all the forms available in the database. To create a new form, press the New button. This takes you to Form Builder's main screen. For a new form, you have to enter two small pieces of information first, an application name and a form name. Don't worry about this too much because you can change them later. Here I enter contact for my contact form. The Form Builder screen has a very simple organization. A title bar at the top, which also allows you to select the user interface language. Status icons and buttons at the bottom. A scrollable toolbar to the left. And finally, the main design area in the center. So let's get started and create a simple contact form. Form Builder follows a what you see is what you get approach. So to set a title for my form, I simply click and edit the title. A form is organized into sections and grids. We think that this design is a good middle ground between too simple and too complex. When I move my mouse around, various icons and elements appear. So here I'm hovering over a grid which has two columns and one row. I can add a column by clicking on this icon here. I can insert columns in the middle by clicking on similar icons. And I can click on the trash can icons to get rid of the columns that I have created. In a similar fashion, I can insert rows into my grid. So now I'm going to give a title to my first section. Let's say contact information. And I'm also going to give a title to the first name control. And I'm going to insert a new input field to the right of the first name control. And I do so by simply clicking in the toolbox on the corresponding button. Last name. I can now insert an email field. I can insert also a phone number field. I will now add a new section that will contain some information about the message that the form user will want to write. You notice that I have a one-column grid by default here. In order to make it a two-column grid, I click on this little icon and I click back in the first cell so that my field will be inserted there. So let's add an order number field. And finally, I would like to have a selection control with some kind of general topic for the message. So I'm going to insert a drop down there and give it the title topic. You notice that the drop down is initially empty. So I click on the Edit Items link, and this opens Form Builder's item set editor. This lists a series of labels and values for the selection control. The label is what is shown to the user, and the value is the corresponding value that is going to be stored into the database. A label is localizable, but the value is not. So let's enter a few items. You notice that when I tab out of the field, Form Builder proposes right away a possible value, but I can of course change it. And I'm going to add a few more such items. Returns, repairs. And it's always a good idea to have an other item. Once I'm done, I just say apply, and all the items appear in the list. Now my form is almost done, but I also want to add a new grid that will capture the comment and questions. So I use the new grid button in the toolbox, and I insert a multi-line text control. I will give it a name, questions and comments. Alright, I think my form is pretty complete. I notice a little typo here. I can easily correct it. Now, I think that in this form, the first name, last name, and email, in fact, most of the controls will be required. And I can actually set that constraint with Form Builder. And to do so, I go to the Validation Settings button, and I select the Required Yes radio button. I am going to do this for the first name, the last name, the email address. Now, notice that the email address also has a type set to email. And what this will do is that it will automatically test for the correctness of the email address. I will leave the phone number to its default, which is to be optional. I will also make the order number as required, a topic as required, since we have an other option, and the questions and comments as required as well. I will now save the form to the database by pressing the Save button. I can now test the form I have created simply by pressing the Test button. This opens a new Form Builder window. The form appears as if it was presented to the end user, and I can fill out the data. This way, I can very easily test that the layout of my controls is correct and that validation is working properly. You'll notice that this little icon indicates that I have no longer errors on my form because I have filled out all the required fields. Once I'm satisfied with my test, I can close the test window and I return to Form Builder. Once I have edited, saved, and tested my form, I can publish it. I do so by pressing the Publish button. I confirm. Form Builder now copies my form definition to a different area of the database where published forms reside. I can now decide to go to the summary page of my new published contact form. I am now in the runtime environment called Form Runner, and you notice that I have the title of my form appearing at the top, and I have the list of form data that I have captured with this form, which for the moment is empty. To create new data, I press the New button. This opens the form, and I can fill it out. I am no longer in the test mode that I previously demonstrated. I am now really capturing this data, and I will be able to save it. Once I've filled out all my data, I can decide to review it. Note that this is an optional Form Runner feature that automatically presents a read-only version of the page. I can go back to my Edit page and save the form data into the database. I can now go back to Form Builder and open the summary page again. And you notice that the form data I have captured is now appearing in the summary page. This completes our quick overview of Form Builder's basic features. There is a lot that we didn't have time to cover in this screencast. For more information, please visit our website at www.orbeon.com, where you will also find the complete Form Builder user guide. Thank you.